There was a piece of breaking news today related to Tesla stock, Elon Musk, Samsung, AI, and really the entire chip sphere that if you looked at the market today, Monday, July the 20th, the market did react in a little bit of a bullish manner, but I don't think it's getting enough appreciation. I don't think it's getting enough buzz because everything I'm about to cover in this video is gonna explain how today's chip announcement deal is actually a really big deal. And even though things have already been going up and up and up, I think what we're seeing today is kind of proof that we're gonna keep going. So I want to cover it because I don't want any of you watching to be missing out on this potential opportunity. But of course, before we get into the nitty-gritty details, don't forget to like, subscribe, all that good jazz. And with that being said, let's rock. So to better explain what I perceive to be very bullish news for Tesla and the entire chip sphere, we have to take a step back and look at what's going on in the overall market. S&P 500 closes little change as EU trade deal fails to spark rally. So it's really the secondary part of this EU trade deal that was just announced yesterday. Companies welcome the EU-US trade deal as least bad outcome. The preliminary agreement cements tariffs that are bad for Europe, but many businesses say the pact is better than a trade war. And for those of you who are curious more about the details, Trump announces EU trade deal with 15% tariffs. Right now, we're waiting on all the details, but we have a general sense of what's going on. It's not as bad as people anticipated, thus why the markets today hit a new all-time high. But before we get to that, I love these quotes. It's a very powerful deal. It's a very big deal. It's the biggest of all deals, according to, of course, President Trump. And then I guess he's kind of rubbing off on his European counterparts because they're even hitting us with some sort of that similar rhetoric. It's a good deal. It's a huge deal with tough negotiations. So obviously that by itself is pretty good news that the trade war situation isn't boiling over, but if anything, this really helped out our trade deal with China. US and China agreed to extend tariff pause by another 90 days. Now, I don't want you guys saying,
but hey, the Commerce Secretary Lutnick promised us that no one's getting an extension.
And even though he said that last week, yeah, it was obviously just announced that on top of this US-EU trade deal, that China is getting another little bit of a baby pass, which is obviously going to be hugely important when it comes to the world of AI and chips and really even Tesla itself. But anyway, the overall stock market, the S&P 500 did clock in a new all-time high right there, just above 6,400. And even on this news, the dollar also popped, which you can track with the Dixie index. So that's kind of the larger picture. Things are looking pretty good. Actually, swimmingly well is how everything is going. But now let's dive into the crazy news related to Tesla specifically. Musk announces deal with Samsung for Tesla AI chips made in Texas, touts strategic importance. Tesla CEO Elon Musk announced late on Sunday that Samsung will manufacture the car's next generation AI chip in its upcoming Texas semiconductor plant as part of a deal worth $16.5 billion and a significant boost for Samsung's struggling chip making arm. If you ask me, weeks from now, months from now, quarters from now, this $16.5 billion deal is going to be the deal that we all look back on and be like, oh, that was pretty obvious. Elon Musk confirmed Tesla had signed a $16.5 billion chip contract with Samsung, and actually, if you look at his Twitter, we got some more details. Samsung's giant new Texas fab will be dedicated to making Tesla's next generation AI 6 chip. The strategic importance of this is hard to overstate. Samsung currently makes AI 4. TSMC will make AI 5, which just finished design initially in Taiwan and then Arizona. Let's take a quick pause right there to review what this all means. Think about it. Multiple generations of incredibly powerful chips that are going to be made here. So not only do we have a huge demand, obviously it just is growing and growing and growing, but beyond that, think about it. It's in the US, as in all those supply chain issues that could theoretically exist when we're talking about the international scale, especially about what's going on with the US and China, and really China and Taiwan. And I guess somehow the US is involved in all that. All those supply chain issues, that is a story of yesteryear. We don't have to worry about it anymore. So basically, a huge amount of demand that keeps on growing, very powerful chips that keep getting better, and less supply chain issues. That is a huge deal, but it gets even better. Samsung agreed to allow Tesla to assist in maximizing manufacturing efficiency. This is a critical point as I will walk the line personally to accelerate the pace of progress, and the fab is conveniently located not far from my house. So once again, high-end jobs in the US for high-end products that are going to push technology further and further and further. And then to boot, the fact that manufacturing is basically going to be at max efficiency, because that's exactly what Elon's known for. With all of that in mind, no one at all is surprised that the initial reaction to the news is pretty positive. Tesla getting a 3% gain on the day and also getting its upside gap fill, and also recovering the EMAs and almost getting pushed back into this consolidation wedge. Obviously, this is the daily chart, and from what we're really talking about here, this is more of the medium to longer term investing, so maybe the daily chart doesn't really matter, but I'm just trying to illustrate a point that right away the market knows it's good news, but I would argue that it's kind of underappreciating how good this news is for the players like Tesla. Granted, people were pretty aggressive throughout the day, buying calls, selling puts, then it kind of petered out, but overall, if in the short term, if you are a short-term trader, I would say there's a lot of support between 315, 320, and 325. A lot of positive gamma there. Shout out to Spot Gamma for giving us this info. And if the ball does fall over the mountaintop, we might be talking about 350, 355. Once again, this is all short-term stuff, but I am looking for the long-term. Because when this gets going, when we're talking about full self-driving, when we're talking about the robo-taxi network, I think the ceiling knows no bounds for Tesla. But don't forget, Nvidia is going to like it. The biggest stock in the world hitting a new all-time high in this news. Avago, Broadcom, the second biggest semiconductor, once again today hitting a new all-time high. ASML getting a nice recovery of 2.6%. This creates the machinery that's needed in this world. SMCI, another semiconductor play, a blistering gain of over 10%, 10.2. And then you have even the ETFs tracking this sector, such as Soxel, a 3x ETF, up about 5% on the day. I think this really drives home the point that the market initially is appreciating this, but this question of where is AI going to go and how much more can it keep growing? Well, apparently we are nowhere close to the end, because the demand for this technology is doing nothing but growing at an exponential rate. And news like this is obviously well received, and it's for good reason. But my suspicion is that this is actually going to be all of a sudden par for course, and more companies are going to do this exact same thing. And man, what does that mean for the industry at that point? Obviously, these are my own thoughts and opinions, and I would love to hear from you in a comment below. Do you think I'm being appropriately bullish? Do you think I'm being overly bullish? Do you think I should be a bit more bearish? I would love to hear from you, because hey, that's how we all get a little bit better. That's what I have for you today. I hope you crushed in the market. I appreciate the good vibes. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.